have amongst us Dr. Samir Saran, the Vice President of Observer Research Foundation. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out some time for this interview.
Thank you for asking.
Sir, I would like to start off by asking you that what initially inspired your interest to work in the field of global governance and policy making?
Actually, that's a good question because I have pretty much the same background as yours. I'm from modern school, Samir, and I used to be the sports captain of the school. I used to play hockey, and global governance was the furthest thing from my mind. I was not necessarily enamored by discussions around politics and policies. I took a very unusual route. I completed my engineering, worked in business, worked in the management field for close to 14 years, and then I realized that while I had bought myself nice cars and clothes, I was not necessarily satisfied with what I was doing. So when I was 36 years of age, I decided that I will restart my life. So at 36, I went back to college. I did my master's in political science, and then I did my PhD on climate policy, which is an important area of global governance. And since then, I've been engaged in public policy. I help to manage this think tank, which is India's leading think tank. And of course, I closely work on issues around energy and certainly now the digital domain.
So could you share some of your insights while working at Observer Research Foundation?
We live in a very interesting world. I think our ability to create challenges for ourselves far outstrips our ability to find solutions to those challenges. So in the world that we live in, I think the disruptions that we are experiencing at the velocity at which they are occurring are beginning to challenge our established political and bureaucratic systems. I think the world is at an inflection point, and we will have to find new ways and means to respond to a fast changing environment.
So, now moving forward to our main topics, I would just like to simply ask you that, do you think that the status of developing country is actually a status of development?
I think this is an interesting question. So, first of all, I think labels such as a developed country or a developing country are relative. China says I'm a developing country. So now a country with the second largest GDP in the world, when it calls itself a developing country, it's a self-description, it's a label. So I think the better way of describing nations is in terms of the means available to the citizens to live a rich and fulfilling life. And in that sense, we are still on the journey to get there. So we are a country whose challenge and whose commitment to its people and citizens to provide them health, education, livelihood, and prosperity is still not fulfilled. So we are. I would certainly describe developing countries as countries in transition, which are moving from one state of existence to another. So I think a country in transition is a better description. Developing country sometimes is a reductive description. It reduces the other to images of poverty and illness and misery and bad governance, etc.
In one of your articles where you talked about democracy, diversity and development, you said that all three are under threat and then themselves are a threat to global stability. So sir, what makes you think that way, and what exactly were you trying to portray when you wrote that statement?
So it's interesting again. Now this is going to be a very long answer. So let me try to find the appropriate words which will keep it brief. Democracy is a cherished goal. True democracy is something that we all strive for. That is an ideal that we all are seeking to achieve. We have today reached a stage that some countries are being able to provide that to citizens better than others. Now what happens sometimes is that as we move to this the new world, which is not only is seeking democracy, but is also providing unfettered ability to its citizens to communicate. Your mobile phones, your social media accounts, Facebook page, Snapchat, Cake, Reddit, depending on which age you belong to. We have created great capacity for communities to mobilize, communities to be loud, communities to argue, communities that are disagreeing with each other. And sometimes this democratic ecosystem, which allows everyone voice and freedom of expression, sometimes it makes it far more difficult to arrive at consensus and to find the right answers.
Okay.
So democracy, if taken to its conclusion as it is moving now, would may well lead us to a system that will be rather tedious and inefficient. So democracy is a good thing, and I'm not at all suggesting that there is any other better form of governance, but I'm saying democracy taken down the current path would make governance and making policy and political decisions extremely difficult. In India is a fascinating case in point. Today you have a triple talaq bill, which in a sense, or instant triple talaq bill, which basically forbids Muslim men to use the 3 words to divorce their wife. Now, ordinarily this should have seen overwhelming support, but democracy allows everyone to disagree, but technology allows them to disagree very loudly and disagree and mobilize agitations and digital agitations against such a bill. So for parliamentarians sitting in parliament today, passing law on something like this is far more difficult than in the 1970s, right? So the democracy is our ideal, and democracy done badly is its own nemesis, and that is the point I was trying to make. Similarly, diversity is a very interesting issue, that we seek to be plural, but as we seek plurality, we identify people by their identity. So because I want a Hindu in a classroom, I will identify him as a Hindu in the classroom. Because I want Muslim in the cricket team, I will identify him as... So the very act of seeking diversity creates identity. And that identity is today we are seeing far more rigid than ever before. We believe that globalization will lead to a society which would be homogeneous, where color, caste, creed, culture, cuisine, customs, costumes, as Shashi Tharoor puts it in his book, will no longer be relevant. But we are seeing that in the postmodern world, or in a world which is technologically connected and enabled, identity is hitting back. People are today far more alive and sensitive to their religion, to their language, to the region they belong to the costumes and food they eat. You're seeing violence around food, violence around movies, but so identities are diversity is its own enemy as well. So if you create an ecosystem where you want all diversity to flourish, you are basically also, in a sense, laying emphasis in preserving individual identity markers across people. So we have to be very careful. Again, done right, diversity is important. Done wrong, diversity creates identity that is sometimes in contradiction with nation states, contradiction with communities. And finally, development. This is a simple example. We want SDG. The global goal is we should not emit carbon, because we want the planet to be livable. We want to leave a healthy earth for our next generation. So what are we going to do? Are we going to freeze certain societies to their current level of existence and tell them, no, you can't have energy because I can't emit, you can't drive a car because cars are polluting, you can't aspire to have air conditioners because they use a lot of energy. So are we using the development debate to ensure that the rich remain rich and the poor never have a chance? Or vice versa, are we going to create development in a manner in which we all start burning coal and using cars and we burn the planet? So development done right is ideal, development done bad is going to hurt you. And that was the point of this provocative article, that these 3 words must be rethought, recalibrated. We must have democracy in the right way. We must have diversity celebrated through the right, in the right spirit, and we must have development which is ethical and moral.
I completely agree with that answer, and that provides me with a much clearer picture about these 3 words. So now talking about various policies implemented by the government, say for example rural credit policies. However, the target groups are not being met. And so what's your take on that situation, and what do you think should be done by the government for a better policy making scenario?
So I'm a possibilist, I'm not a pessimist. I'm not even an optimist. I'm someone who sees possibilities and who believes that solutions exist. And I believe that the experiment we are currently undertaking in India of providing everyone a bank account a digital identity,
Yes.
and directly targeting subsidies and
Yeah.
aid and help and assistance based on a digital ecosystem is a fascinating experiment. I think no one else in the world has done this in this scale and with this degree of success. So I think the digital India ecosystem that we are creating is certainly an ecosystem that has possibilities.
Yeah.
Possibilities of addressing exactly what you asked me. That do I have the ability of targeting, say, farm loans
Yeah.
to the people who need it,
Yeah.
or to target food subsidies to those who need it,
Yeah.
or to target fertilizer subsidies to those who need it. I think we are now sitting in a world where technology, of course, has made democracy difficult because it has made us loud and argumentative, but it also enables us to reach people directly. So I think the current intention of the government, and there's a difference between intention and implementation. I think the intention is correct. We have to get the implementation right. And I think that it is an implementation issue, not a policy issue, not an intention issue.
Yeah. So just before we end the interview, I would just like to ask you to give some kind of advice to the students who are trying to pursue policy making, global governance as their career in future.
My advice would be, don't wait till you are 36 to come into this field. Don't listen to your parents. My father told me, do engineering, do MBA, you will get a good wife and you will have a good future. I believed him, I was wrong. I still have a good wife, I have a good future, I have a very interesting life, even though I work on policy and global governance. I remember when I was growing up and when I was, say, 10 years ago, when I was 36, when I entered this field, when I used to tell people in a bar that I work on climate change, they used to normally say, okay, I'll see you later. And they used to disappear. I can tell you today, when I tell people I work on climate change, they want to know more. This world is far more sensitive to key questions, and your generation is far more responsible than my generation was. You people are far more attuned to the challenges that the world is faced with. You are more cyber savvy, you are more climate savvy, you are more identity savvy, and your generation has been saddled with the onerous task of correcting everything wrong we did. So I think your generation has to start working on these issues very early. And like I said, technology is changing the world so rapidly, we can't afford to wait.
Yeah.
Don't waste 15 to 20 years before you start attending to the problems that you have to solve now. Start working on it now. It is a full career. It is not a hobby. It is not a social service you're doing. It is leadership, and it is a responsibility that every citizen has to make sure that politics and policy work for people, for the planet, and for the poor. I think that is why all of you must come, and if some of you want to come and intern with me, work with me, speak to me, please do come.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
And I hope you all enjoy it.
Thank you.